The seventh episode of the third season of Invincible turned out to be the most epic and grand in the history of the show. The creators didn't stretch out the war with the Marks into a two-part episode. The entire story fit into a single episode. And even though it's just 1 hour of screen time, it became a true masterpiece of animation, one of the greatest episodes of the show. The episode is structured as a chronicle of 3 days of the apocalypse, each one becoming more terrifying and intense than the last. This three-part structure creates a unique sense of an escalating nightmare. While the series used to be content with local stories set within Chicago, only occasionally hinting at the existence of a galactic empire and planetary coalitions, now the veil has been completely lifted. Viewers witnessed a global catastrophe that engulfed the world's major cities, burning New York, destroyed London, the ruins of Tokyo, dying Paris, shattered Moscow. All of it the work of the dark versions of Mark. Such a global conflict not only enhanced the atmosphere of the impending catastrophe, but also raised the quality of the project to an unreachable height. The dark versions of Mark Grayson in this story are revealed in a truly masterful way. Some of them became a challenge for secondary characters, giving them a chance to shine. But the real gems of the plot are the subtle touches to the portraits of the alternate Marks. From the one who committed the irreparable in his reality to the one who held on to the hope of reuniting with his loved one. The scenes of destruction and battles involving the dark versions of Mark evoke the same painful awe as the legendary showdown with Omni-Man in the Season 1 finale. The animators reached a high level of artistry in the shots where different versions of Invincible hover over the destroyed metropolises, with the flames of the burning cities reflected in their eyes. In the comic, Armstrong Levy revealed that most versions of Mark in the multiverse are evil, cruel, and dangerous people, and worlds where Nolan's son is a good, altruistic person are incredibly rare. Today, we'll go through all the versions of Invincible. Enjoy the viewing. It all started with an experiment that went out of control. Levy, having gained knowledge of the alternative versions of himself, transformed into a monster with an enlarged brain occupying half of his back. His mind became clouded, and his heart filled with hatred for Invincible. Angstrom Levy, once obsessed with the thirst for knowledge, was now consumed by darkness and revenge, and came up with a brilliant plan to assemble an army of Invincible's doppelgangers and unleash them on Mark's home universe. Levy methodically gathered versions of heroes from the darkest corners of the multiverse, where they had become villains, tyrants, and killers. Each one was chosen not by chance. They were the Marks who had taken the path of darkness, succumbing to the temptation of power. But the true goal of this sinister project was not world domination, but the destruction of the original Mark's reputation. Levy wanted to show the world that even the heroes everyone admires have a dark side. One fateful day, green portals opened in the sky above the Earth, from which the dark versions of Mark appeared. London, Moscow, New York, and other cities were turned into ruins one by one under the onslaught of these monsters. They sowed chaos and death. The real Mark, not understanding what was happening, rushed into battle. Thanks to his frequent training, he proved stronger than most of his versions. In the overall image of Marks, there are 18 in total, and the first to appear is the sinister Invincible, who first appears in the second season when he kills Armstrong and his son after defeating Omni-Man. This character is marked by his dark essence and appearance, more ominous and terrifying than our Mark. He wears a black and yellow suit with a long flowing cape. Mark in a tracksuit is hard to spot in the 7th episode, as he rarely appears after the opening scenes where the characters attack Earth, and his fate remains a mystery. However, considering that he is not part of the group that Angstrom Levy locks in the wasteland at the end of the episode, one can assume that the tracksuit Invincible was killed during the invasion. It's possible that his charred corpse was destroyed by Powerplex. Prison Mark is one of the most memorable versions, a bald, scar-covered version of the hero, dressed in a white and gray prison uniform. This character attacks Moscow, claiming that he needs to stretch after spending a year in a Viltrumite prison. Prison Mark also joins the group that Armstrong leaves to their fate. Mark without glasses became the highlight of the episode. He combines excellent humor, a high level of brutality, and top-notch action, making him one of the most recognizable versions. He engages in battles with Immortal, Shapesmith, Darkwing, Duplicate, and Black Samson. Easily dispatching the planet's guardians, he playfully breaks their bones and guts them with his strikes. He severely wounds Samson, Shapesmith, and Duplicate, and also kills Immortal. once again beheading the poor guy. All that is known about this version of Mark is that he loves to fight. Moreover, he is a sadist who enjoys killing and torturing others. Thus, Mark complains that he killed Immortal too quickly and didn't get to torture him. In the end, the version of Mark without glasses ends up trapped in the Shadow Universe. Mark strangled Darkwing in his dimension, so he remains locked there. However, in the comics, it is revealed that after some time, Cecil will free him, but only to turn him into his own warrior. Invincible Phloxen is depicted in blue-gray armor, which was showcased during the Phloxan invasion in the first season. Nothing is known about this version of Mark. Mohawk Mark receives more attention than other versions. At the beginning of the season, he attacks the prison that Mark was hired to protect. Mohawk Mark is distinguished by his black and blue suit and signature hairstyle. He was defeated but escapes and later destroys the Empire State Building. By the end of the episode, the character ends up in the group that Angstrom Levy locks in another world. Long-haired Mark is another version that can be distinguished by his shoulder-length hair and outfit with short sleeves. This Invincible is shown fighting several heroes in the suburbs, but nothing is said about his past. Later, he is shown dead. He was killed by Oliver and 2 other heroes. Invincible with glasses is another distinctive character who fights the Guardians. His lenses are connected in the middle, which clearly sets him apart from the others. This version easily defeats Rex, the Monster Girl, Robot, and Bulletproof. Rex gathers all his strength and sacrifices himself by detonating his skeleton to kill them both. Mark, with a hood, stands out with a blue mask that completely covers his head like a ski cap. The only thing known about him is that in his world, there is no Oliver. As during their encounter, this Mark does not recognize the little kid. They meet up until other heroes join them. Together, they apparently kill him, as this version of Evil Invincible is not part of the surviving group. One of the versions of Mark destroys Paris. When the Invincibles gather above the Grayson house, he says that he misses William. After that, Angstrom Levy traps him along with the others. One of the versions of Mark is completely concealed under a mask, which is a black head covering that fully hides his face. This version of the hero explains that he never felt hatred toward his mother and dreams of reuniting with her. He started working with Levy, not to conquer other worlds, but because he misses his mom. However, Armstrong betrays their deal by sending him to the Wasteland universe along with the other heroes. One of the most recognizable versions is Mark with a mustache. His white suit suggests that he has become a full-fledged member of Viltrumite society. Mustache Mark suffers a quick defeat at the hands of a superhero named Tech Jacket, an important and powerful character from the comics, during a battle in Earth's orbit. After defeating Mohawk Mark, he encounters Invincible in a bandana. This version stands out from the others due to his mask, which looks like a piece of blue fabric hanging below his chin. Invincible in the bandana fights against Mark and Eve. Ultimately, he dies, though his death is not shown on screen. Invincible Omni-Man is one of the strongest versions of Mark. His red and white suit resembles Nolan's, suggesting that he killed his father in his universe and took his name. Moreover, during the battle, he mentions that he always hated Eve, hinting at a darker history of their relationship in his universe. Later, we see him devastating Tokyo before being betrayed by Angstrom. This version wears a white and gray uniform, and his suit features the logo of the Viltrumite Empire, proving that this version is a loyal soldier of the authoritarian rulers in his universe, the Viltrumites. Invincible battles Wolfman, claiming that he has killed him before and will do so again. Another version of Invincible wears a suit almost identical to Bulletproof's, only in different colors, suggesting that they clashed in their universe and Mark took his suit. His death at the hands of a cyborg is shown at the end of the second day of the war. On the first day of the war, the light blue Mark can be seen in the desert, fighting a giant hero. By the end of the series, he is not part of Angstrom's group, implying that he was killed at some point during the battle. The final version of Invincible is Emperor Mark. This character appears in a suit reminiscent of the original Invincible costume from the first season, with the distinctive Viltrumite logo on each shoulder. His comments about not even considering taking the hero he fought as a slave for his empire suggest that this version of Invincible is the leader of the Viltrumites. On the third day of the invasion, when the major cities lay in ruins, Levy himself appeared. He ordered the dark versions to beat up the original Mark and bring him to him. The variants reminded Angstrom that he had promised to help them conquer other worlds. When they demanded their reward, the scientists betrayed them, sending them to a desolate dimension. The further fate of this group was tragic and extremely brutal. Left without food or water, they were forced to fight and cannibalize each other. When the original Mark later found himself back in the wasteland, he was horrified by what he saw. Of all the trapped Marks, only 2 remained alive. One had gnawed on ribs, while the other was trying to escape from this cannibal. Write your impressions of the new episode in the comments. That's all for now. See you next time.